All right. Good afternoon. My name is Ben Souchek, and I'm with Home Downsizing Solutions, professional home buyers. And today I have a very special guest, Mary Ann Stallings, who is with the Lincoln and Omaha offices of Bridge to a Better Living. And I'll just quote something, Mary Ann, from your website. It states that your trusted choice for assisted living, retirement consulting, and senior care. Is that about right?
That's true. Our motto is placement with passion.
Very good. Well, just to jump right into things here, what or who is a Bridge to Better Living, and what would you consider is your primary mission?
Bridge to Better Living was founded 10 years ago. I founded it 10 years ago, and I founded it because of the frustration I found with trying to find the right retirement community for family members. And we ended up having, my husband and I worked with 5 family members and over a period of about 10 years. And so I was to the point in my career, I was a teacher, and I was at the point in my career where I could make a change, and I wanted to start my own business, but I wanted to help people, and I wanted it to be a free service. So I started thinking back about the frustrations and what had happened in our past. And I thought, well, maybe I could help people go through this very emotional time and frustrating time and do the legwork and provide, the expertise and the database, etc. So I spent about a year and a half putting Bridge to Better Living together. And basically what we do is we sit down with family members or seniors and discuss with them on a consultation basis what they need socially, physically, medically, and financially. And we're then able, through our database, narrow down the different communities that will match their needs. We then set up appointments with all the different communities, and we go with them on those tours, and we make sure that all the questions are asked, that everything is transparent, so that when they do move, that they don't have any surprises. And we do this as a free service to our clients. We contract with all the different communities, and we have contracts with communities in Lincoln, Omaha, and the surrounding area, from Ashland to Fremont, even up in Norfolk and Columbus, down to Crete, out to Grand Island. So basically, that's how Bridge to Better Living was started. Was kind of a brainchild of mine, and something that I was hoping that I could help others.
Very good. It sounds like you cover a wide area too
Yes,
in
we do.
Nebraska here. So very
Yes.
good. Uh, what would you say are the specific steps that you encounter when a person, a long-term homeowner that has been in the home for 20, 30, 40 years, from the time that they start thinking, I probably should start doing something here. I should think about a transition. What are the steps from that very first beginning through the end transition and the move into their new home?
Ben, it starts with them realizing that they do need to make the move, but it is so hard emotionally for people to make that move.
Mhm.
And even then, they'll talk about, well, I've lived here for 40 years. I have all this. I had one gentleman call it yunk. And he said, I've got all this junk here, and what am I going to do with it? And so he needed somebody to help him downsize his home, come in and help him figure out what really is junk and what really isn't, and what is valuable to others. And then also figuring out what they really want to take with them, what's really important. And that is very, very difficult for seniors because, they get to looking back and memories start flowing back, and they think, oh, this happened. And so it's quite a process by the time they kind of go down that life journey that they had with their kids growing up, and all the mementos and the little letters and the cards that they had from their children as they were growing up that they saved. And what's important to take, what isn't important to take. Am I going to need 3 sets of dishes? Am I going to need any dishes? And so just that, first off, is that it's very difficult for them to kind of release themselves from their home where they've been. And once they do that, then they still have to release themselves from all those things that are important to them, but maybe aren't important to other people.
Sure. Okay. And in relation to those very specific steps that they go through in that transition, what are the service or the services that your company provides, and or do they need to go, or are you able to provide other assistance for those steps or services that you may not directly provide, so to speak, like the packing and sorting and some of those steps?
So we take them through that whole process of being able to find out the criteria that meets their needs, and vice versa with the retirement communities, and finding the right retirement community that matches their personality. From there, we usually then just do a referral, because we don't pack, we don't, move them. But what we do is provide that shoulder for them to talk to and to listen to. And sometimes they'll call us and say, hey, come out, what do you think is going to work in this apartment? And, we'll say, well, this table will probably work, but this one may not. But still, there are others like you guys out there who can say, hey, this will work here and this will work here. But once they move in, we then come back and walk through the door with them, and make sure that the quality of life that they're looking for is there, that they're happy and everything is in place for them.
So correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like your sweet spot, the primary focus is making sure that that individual gets into the right new home, the right new community that's going to be a great fit for them.
Yes, that's our primary goal. That's why we have our motto is placement with passion.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and how do people typically find you or learn about your services, if I could ask that?
Ben, most of the people learn about our services from word of mouth, from people who have used us before. We do a lot of speaking engagements. So if anybody ever needs a speaker for a Kiwanis club or a church group, or we speak to groups from 3 to 4 people on up to a couple of hundred, so we go out and talk about activities of daily living. When is it that time when you need to make that move? What are the signs? When should I make that move? And that's very difficult to know exactly when a person should make a move, but there are definitely signs, and we go through those signs when we do our presentation. It's a PowerPoint, or we can just do a verbal presentation also. And then many of the financial advisors and trust officers, doctors, ministers also refer us.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And it's probably not a good question on this short time that we have here to ask you what some of those signs are, or would you like to share some of those signs real quick?
Some of those signs are when people start skipping meals and they're not eating correctly.
Sure.
And when you open up the refrigerator and it's full of little white styrofoam boxes, and many of them have mold in them, and so when people aren't eating correctly, then they're usually not taking their medication correctly. So nutrition and medication kind of have a domino effect with each other. And when that happens, then many times people will start going into a depression. And when that happens, then you'll see like the house, they no longer dust it. The house isn't looking like as neat as it should. They neglect their own personal hygiene. And so all of it just kind of has a little bit of a domino effect.
Sure. So the taking care of themselves and certainly the health then becomes a critical issue to watch and make sure that someone is watching that and taking care of that for them.
Ben, every day, 10,000 people are turning 65, and that will happen every day until 2030. So
Sure.
there are a lot of seniors out there. And a third of all the seniors will fall. Every age 65 and older, a third of all seniors will fall this year.
Wow. I did not know that stat. Certainly I know some of those other ones, but I did not know that. So that's a very important thing to pay attention to.
Mhm.
Um, Anything else that you'd like to add to our conversation this afternoon that I did not ask about, or that you'd like people that watch this to understand and know about your company?
Well, it's Bridge to Better Living, 402-802-3301 or bridgetobetterliving.com. You can find us on the website. And we can do right now, we're doing Zoom tours, we're doing Zoom consultations, and so we can still meet with people. Even, and our offices are large enough where we can have the 6-foot social distancing, or we can do it with Zoom into their homes or wherever they are.
Mhm. Well, very good. And I guess you covered the geographic areas that you provide services to. So we have that for people. And I think you probably mentioned your website, Bridge to Better Living. And so with that, thank you for joining me and taking the time to share your company, information about your company and your services. And hopefully if people are out there in that position, they will check your company out. And I've known you for several years anyway, I think, a little bit.
Yes.
So hopefully you can be a resource for them.
Well, thank you, Ben. Thank you for asking me to be here today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.